I really hope All of Us Are Dead Season 2 skips this one storyline that could totally mess up the whole zombie K-drama vibe. That being said, I'm pretty sure Chong-san is making a comeback in Season 2. So with the next chapter officially confirmed, here's everything we know so far. Let's dive in, shall we? All of Us Are Dead Season 2 is definitely one of those shows that could take its story in a whole bunch of different directions. There's a lot of potential, especially with how Season 1 wrapped up, but if there's one thing I'm hoping they don't bring back, it's the one part of the season I wasn't really a fan of, the love triangle. With no official release date yet, all we can really do is speculate and wait, which makes it the perfect time to talk about what we want or don't want for Season 2. As of now, we're led to believe Chong-san didn't make it out alive. And then there's Namra, who's managed to get a handle on her Hambi powers, those half-human, half-zombie abilities. So naturally, Season 2 is going to feel pretty different. Season 1 already adapted the entire webtoon, which means the next chapter of this story is uncharted territory. That alone makes it exciting, but also a little unpredictable. The final episode gave us a pretty big hint that Namra and the other Hambis will be front and center moving forward. Still, aside from that quick cast announcement video Netflix dropped to confirm the show's renewal, we don't really have anything concrete. And honestly, whatever wild paths the story decides to go down, I just hope it doesn't mess with the relationships that were already so well developed in the first season. If you remember how Season 1 kicked off, you'll recall it kind of flirted with a love triangle or maybe even a love square. Chong-san had feelings for Anjo, but Anjo liked Soo-hyuk, who in turn liked Namra. It was messy in the way teenage crushes usually are, but also it felt a little out of place in a story about kids fighting to survive a zombie apocalypse. Fortunately, the show didn't really lean into that drama. Instead, it gave us two surprisingly compelling and authentic couples, Chong-san and Anjo and Soo-hyuk and Namra. That's one of the reasons I'd hate to see the love triangle brought back in Season 2. It would just feel like a step backward. Sure, Chong-san's status is still up in the air and Namra is off doing her Hambi thing, which technically could open the door for Anjo and Soo-hyuk to grow closer. And yeah, fiction loves the whole two grieving people find comfort in each other thing, but in this case it would feel forced. Their friendships are strong enough on their own, and trying to spin that into romance would just complicate what's already a deeply emotional story. When it comes to Korean dramas, especially Netflix originals, there's a bit of a pattern with second seasons. They go big. Shows like Sweet Home totally shifted the focus and brought in new characters, and Squid Game dove into the inner workings of the deadly games, ending on a huge cliffhanger. And let's not forget Gyeongsang Creature, which fast-forwarded 80 years and practically became a new show altogether. So it's fair to wonder how All of Us Are Dead Season 2 will shake things up. There's speculation that Chong-san might actually be alive and possibly even turned into a Hambi after being bitten by Gui-nam. If that's true, his story isn't over, but if Chong-san is back, that doesn't mean we need to reset the love dynamics. There are definitely ways the show could play around with emotions and relationships for the sake of drama, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. The relationships we already have, Anjo and Chong-san, Soo-hyuk and Namra, are more than enough. They're layered, emotionally charged, and tied to everything the characters have been through. Why mess that up? The great thing about these couples is that they're not just about romance, they reflect the trauma, loss, and growth each character has experienced. Anjo is still grieving Chong-san, and Soo-hyuk is separated from Namra, who's now living outside the military safe zones. That setup already gives the show plenty of emotional depth to explore. There's really no need to force new love angles. If Chong-san is alive, and let's be real, a lot of fans are hoping he is, bringing him back doesn't have to mean rehashing old drama. If anything, it can make things even more compelling. Imagine what it would be like for Anjo to discover that the person she mourned all this time is actually alive, but no longer fully human. That's way more interesting than shoehorning in a new relationship. There's also a strong case to be made that Chong-san is coming back. Not only is he one of the four central characters, but the actor who plays him, Yoon Chan-young, showed up in the season 2 renewal video that Netflix shared. Sure, that could just mean flashbacks or dream scenes, but there is another clue that makes his return feel more likely. Remember that intense fight at the construction site between Chong-san and Gui-nam in episode 11? Right in the middle of that chaos, Gui-nam bites Chong-san on the arm. That moment might seem easy to overlook given everything else that was happening, like the explosion that followed, but it could be a huge detail. See, the show's world, Hambies, half-zombies, can be created through bites, just like regular zombies. Guinam himself turned Namra into a Hambi the same way, so it stands to reason that Chong-san might have been infected too. We still don't know exactly how fast or how reliably the Hambi transformation happens, but if he did turn, it could explain how he survived the blast. If Guinam could survive crazy injuries thanks to being a Hambi, why not Chong-san? The explosion might have been massive, but Hambis aren't your average human. Their abilities aren't fully understood yet, which gives the writers a lot of wiggle room when it comes to exploring Chong-san's survival. The idea that Chong-san might have turned into a Hambi right before the explosion isn't just convenient, it's narratively meaningful. That bite wasn't just a throwaway moment. It's hard to believe the writers would include something that major just to kill him off anyway. Chong-san staying behind to fight Guinam felt like a selfless act, but if he'd already been bitten, maybe he knew he couldn't go back to his old life either way. It would also explain why he didn't reconnect with his friends during the 4-month time jump. If he's a Hambi now, he might be avoiding them on purpose, maybe to protect them or because he's ashamed of what he's become. Either way, it adds another layer to his character and it sets up some really interesting possibilities for Season 2. If Season 1 was about humans surviving zombies, Season 2 could turn that on its head. With Namra already saying she's found others like her and Chong-san potentially being a Hambi too, the story could become about Hambis trying to survive in a world that sees them as monsters. That shift would make the show feel fresh without losing its core characters. It could also give us a much deeper look at what it means to be half alive in this universe. Hambis aren't just infected, they're caught in between, trying to hang on to their humanity while being hunted like the undead. And this twist wouldn't just affect the action, it would hit the romances too. With both Namra and Chong-san living outside the quarantine zones, their relationships with Soo-hyuk and Donjo can't move forward the way normal romances might. That bittersweet tension is more than enough to carry the emotional side of the story. And that's what we have to say about Season 2. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.